C9C, got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
Chris, this shit's fun.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of JT Sports Live. For the third straight time, we're trying to get it right. Hopefully, we don't have any more technical difficulties, but I appreciate everybody that's tuned in once again on YouTube, X, wherever you're watching. Coming on here to give my reaction to the Buffalo Bills curb stomping the Miami Dolphins 31-10 on Thursday Night Football. The Bills have now won 12 out of their last 13 matchups against the Miami Dolphins, and we got to break down what this win means for the Buffalo Bills moving forward and why this loss is very concerning for the Miami Dolphins. Before we dive into it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we go live and when we drop new content. If you're listening on X, retweet the stream, follow if you haven't already, and leave a like. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available after this live stream concludes. This will be uploaded on all those podcasting platforms, so you guys can go ahead and listen to the audio format when you wake up in the morning. And we will be taking calls once I get my thoughts off my chest. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Cuban Kane, he says Tua needs to retire. Body is not built for football. Shout out to Kate Roan, tuned in once again. Shout out to everybody that's watching wherever you are, X, YouTube. Appreciate you for sticking with us throughout all the technical difficulties. And let's dive into it. The Miami Dolphins fall 31-10 once again to the Buffalo Bills. They've now lost 13 out of their last... Can't even talk, man. The Miami Dolphins fall to the Buffalo Bills 31-10. It's the final. They now have lost 12 out of their last 13 games to Buffalo. And this is a really concerning loss for the Miami Dolphins tonight, because now you are now 1-7 against playoff caliber teams since last year. And Mike McDaniel overall is 5-12 against teams that have winning records. And this loss to Buffalo tonight showed how the Miami Dolphins are the softest team in the NFL. They're not just soft, they're Charmin ultra soft. They were getting absolutely obliterated up front. Tua Tagovailoa was running for his life. Their defensive line couldn't stop the Bills' rushing attack. James Cook had 3 total touchdowns in this game, 2 on the ground, 1 reception for a touchdown. The Dolphins are not going to be a playoff team this year. And this isn't an overreaction to one game. I've been saying this before this season started that something just felt weird about Miami. They lost a couple of starters on the interior of their offensive line from last year. You definitely could tell with how bad they looked in this game. Defensively, losing Christian Wilkins to the Raiders in free agency, you definitely felt that loss tonight with how effective Buffalo was running the football in the middle of the Dolphins' defensive line. And with all the turnovers that Tua gave out to Buffalo tonight, Tua turning the ball over, it didn't help Miami's defense at all. And when it comes to Tua's performance, it was less to be desired when you think about all of the money that the Dolphins just paid him before this season started. And even before he got injured, there were concerns about if he was even worth this kind of money. Just because the market says that every new quarterback that's up for a new extension has to get paid over $200 million doesn't mean that every quarterback is worth market value. And Tua, I view him as a top 10 quarterback, but I feel only a select few group of quarterbacks deserve to be making the kind of money that he's receiving from Miami. And this was a nightmare game for the Dolphins tonight against Buffalo. Everything that went wrong for you, and then some, because you saw Tua struggle, the offense struggle, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, they were struggling to get open. And this offense is very predictable. That's why Sean McDermott has a winning record over Mike McDaniel, because he doesn't throw any new wrinkles into his scheme, which makes this team so easy to play for Buffalo because they know what's coming before it happens. And anytime the defense has a step on what you're going to do offensively, it's hard for you to execute your game plan. And I was really surprised how good Buffalo's defense looked tonight against Miami, considering all the guys that they were missing due to injuries. And you can make all the excuses in the world for the Dolphins losing this game. Tua left early in the third quarter with a concussion. They had Teron Armstead and the offensive guard have to leave the game due to an injury. But Buffalo just owns the Miami Dolphins. They might as well just change the name of that stadium from Hard Rock to Bills Mafia Stadium, because every time they come down to South Florida, they have the mentality, we're going to come into your trap and take over your trap. And the Buffalo Bills do it every time they play Miami. Mike McDaniel is insane. The definition of what it means to be insane is to do the same thing over and over again and get the same results. For the love of God, you have to switch some things up offensively, because this offense is not hard to stop if you have the personnel to stop it. If you have corners who can play bump and run coverage against Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you can take them out the game because you ruined the timing between them and Tua. You saw on 2 out of 3 of those interceptions that Tua threw tonight, they came when the defense was able to disrupt the timing between the receivers and Tua. Tua is a great anticipatory thrower. He knows how to throw the football before guys get open, and that's what makes him so effective in this offense. But when you can get your hands on Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and mess up the timing, the offense falls apart because Tua doesn't have the ability to make plays happen off script. And when it comes to Tua's concussion that forced him to have to exit this game in the third quarter, I don't believe Tua should retire. All right? And I hate how people are trying to force it upon Tua that he has no choice but to retire. If the dude wants to continue to play football, it's his decision. It's his life. If he wants to get effed up out there, he wants to further increase his chances of getting CT if he doesn't have it already, then that's up to him. That's his decision to make. That's his judgment. You're not in his shoes. You're not lacing those pads up. You're not tightening up those cleats. So it's not your decision to tell what Tua should do as far as his career goes. If the dude wants to go back out there and play, if he gets cleared from concussion protocol, then he should be able to do so. It's not like this dude has suffered a career-ending head injury that should prohibit him from ever playing football again. This isn't the first time the Dolphins have had an injury-prone quarterback. Remember Chad Pennington? He was always injured too. When it comes to injuries, they're unpredictable. You don't know when they're going to happen. And as soon as Tua got hit by DeMar Hamlin, I kind of already had a feeling that he was going to miss the rest of this game. He's the definition of fragile luggage. You just breathe on him, he gets injured. And I was surprised that he played all of season healthy. So he's not injury prone per se because he played all of 2023 with no injury problems. It's just that when it comes to him getting hit above the shoulders, around that neck and head area, that's where he ends up facing the most injuries at, because I guess that's just probably the weak part of his body. And injuries are unpredictable. But when I think about Tua's long-term health, I definitely do have concerns about it. But once again, it's his decision to continue to put his body on the line and further risk effing himself up long-term if he wants to continue to play this sport. It's a physical sport. No matter how much you change the rules, guys are still going to get injured. And for the Dolphins tonight, this was just a complete nightmare of a game for you against Buffalo because your offense couldn't score points. You only scored 10 points in this game. When Miami's playing up against teams that have losing records, they average over 30 points per game. But when they go up against quality opponents, they only average 13 points per game. And it's hard to see this team making it to the playoffs this year with the healthy Aaron Rodgers and how good the Bills look this year. I see Miami being a 7-8 win football team. Defensively, I do believe that they can play better than what they did tonight. When you got to help your offense and bail them out after 3 really bad interceptions, there's only so much you can do when you're put in bad field position. And Buffalo just completely smashed Miami's defensive line up front. I mean, anytime they wanted to run the football, they had success doing so. And for the talent that the Dolphins have going into this year, you would have thought that they would have been able to win this game at home. It's hard for a team like Buffalo that plays in the part of the country that they do to come down to South Florida when it's hot and humid and just dominate Miami the way they do. The Dolphins have now lost 12 out of their last 13 games against this team. They just have no answers for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Now, for the Buffalo Bills tonight, beating Miami 31-10, you now have won 12 out of your last 13 games against this team. You own Miami. Hard Rock Stadium should be renamed Bills Mafia Stadium because anytime Buffalo walks into Hard Rock, they take it over. The Dolphins have no answer for anything that Josh Allen in Buffalo does. James Cook tonight was a man on a mission. He had 3 touchdowns in just the first half. And what's different about the Bills this year compared to the Buffalo teams that we've seen in the past is that they're not Josh Allen dependent anymore. It's like you still need Josh Allen to play well, but now you're a balanced football team. You're not asking Josh Allen to say, hey, go out there, Josh, and win us the game. You can now play complementary football. You can run the football. You can be able to control time possession. You can establish your presence on the line of scrimmage. This is a really good offensive line that Buffalo has. They have good guards. They got really good tackles. And what impressed me the most is in spite of them having wide receivers that aren't household names, they got some really talented wideouts. Khalil Shakur, it seems like this is the only wide receiver that Josh Allen trusts because every time he was dropping back the pass, he was getting the football. I wish I would have picked up Khalil Shakur in fantasy. And the thing about Khalil Shakur and all of these potential breakout fantasy football players is that normally anytime these fantasy analysts say that a guy is going to break out, 7 times out of 10, they end up being massive disappointments. So when people were telling me in the offseason that, oh, Khalil Shakur is going to be able to fill the role that Stephon Diggs had, I was kind of saying, I don't really know about that. But he's a baller. Really dependable when it comes to catching the football, no drops, and he's really good after the catch. He's like a running back once he gets the ball in his hands. We didn't really hear much from Dalton Kincaid, their second-year tight end that they drafted in the first round out of Utah, but they still have him. They got Keon Coleman, who pretty much was quiet tonight. But this is a team that, with Joe Brady in his first full season as the OC, he's committed to making sure that this is a balanced football team. And I like what I saw of the Bills tonight offensively to the point where I believe this season may be their best chance to win the Super Bowl now that you have the ability to be balanced. You see, when you play Kansas City, what hurt you in that game last year in that loss in the divisional round was that you couldn't win that TOP battle. You couldn't keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Now, with you having a new identity that is a run-first approach, not asking Josh Allen to do too much, but just manage the game, you have the kind of offense now that can keep a Lamar, a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes on the sideline as you continue to ground and pound their defense. They got more than just James Cook at running back. They got Ray Davis, a really good rookie running back out of Kentucky. He's more of a bruiser. He's not as explosive as what James Cook is, but he's very powerful. He'll knock your damn helmet off. You try to run straight up in the hole with him. And I like the identity of the Buffalo Bills this year. And defensively, did y'all peep Von Miller out there? I thought last season it was it for Von Miller. I thought he was going to hang up the cleats. I thought his prime years were behind him, but he's making a career resurgence. He has now had a sack in the Buffalo Bills' first 2 games. And with you having AJ Epinesa, Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, you got one of the best defensive lines in the National Football League. Not only are you good against the run, but you can absolutely get after the quarterback like how you got after Tua tonight. And for all the injuries that Buffalo had to deal with going into this game, the fact that they held Miami, who has one of the more explosive offenses in the league, to only 10 points, shows you how much depth they have on defense. And it tells you how good of a defensive mind Sean McDermott is. Now, part of why Buffalo looks so good defensively is because Miami's offense doesn't do anything new. You only got to worry about 3 things: them running the football or them throwing it to either Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill in the passing game. Now, Jonnu Smith was getting a good amount of work, which is a little bit different, but Miami's offense is too one-dimensional. And that's why Sean McDermott does such a great job when it comes to game planning for it. And moving forward, the Bills, to me, are far and away the best team in the AFC East. I don't see the Jets being able to win this division over them. The Dolphins aren't going to be able to do so because they don't even know how to beat good teams. And the New England Patriots, listen, I give them a lot of props for upsetting Cincinnati in week 1, but you know, week 1 is when a lot of fluke stuff happens. The Buffalo Bills are once again going to take home the AFC East division title, have a home playoff game, and this is their best shot to make it to the Super Bowl. You don't need to have elite wide receivers to win a Super Bowl. Look what Patrick Mahomes just did the last 2 years. He was winning Super Bowls with nobody's at wide receiver and Travis Kelce. Josh Allen always plays pretty good when they go up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you have the ability to beat teams playing bully ball. And if you can't have success on the ground, then you can depend on Josh Allen to win you games. I love the style of football that the Buffalo Bills are playing this year so far. I know it's early in the season. We got 15 more games left to go. But the Buffalo Bills, to me, look like a top 3, top 4 team in the AFC right now. And I like Buffalo's chances to win the AFC this year more than I like Baltimore, because Baltimore, unlike Buffalo, they're too Lamar-centric. They have to rely on Lamar to do everything. Lamar Jackson led their team in rushing yards and carry last week against the Kansas City Chiefs, despite them having Derrick Henry. And it seems like they don't plan on easing up the workload when it comes to Lamar. You can't win a Super Bowl if you're just a one-trick pony. And that's what has costed Buffalo in the past. Now, this is the regular season. Buffalo always is a really good regular season team. It's going to be interesting to see if this style of football translates in the playoffs, and if we actually see a different outcome in the postseason for Buffalo than what we've seen over the last couple of years. But you definitely have to feel really encouraged with what you saw out of the Buffalo Bills on both sides of the football. The fact that you were just able to obliterate Miami, down several starters on defense, is really impressive. And I love the new offense that we see with Joe Brady in year 2 calling the plays. Now we're going to open up the phone lines for anybody that wants to call in. I'm about to put the number on the screen. Hold up real quick. All right, I got to set something up real quick before we start taking calls. Put these on. All right, I'm about to show the number on the screen so you guys can go ahead and call in. The number is 904-834-5927 for those of you guys who want to call in and give your takes on the game. I'm also going to post the number in the chat so you guys can go ahead and copy and paste it. And I also want you guys to let me know when we take our first call if you can hear the caller. So just give like a thumbs up if you can hear the caller on your side, because sometimes it only comes through on my end. So just give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear the call. So the number is now pinned in the chat. You guys can go ahead, call in, and give your takes. I'm also going to post the number on X as well. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Oh, we already got a call.
Call from
Buckeye DK.
To accept, press 1.
Yo, what's going on? You're on the line with JT Sports Live.
What's going on, JT? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm good, man. Got off work a little late, so I caught the game a little late, man. But I think I tuned in about the third quarter.
What was your thoughts on?
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on, how Miami's offense looked in this game? Do you feel like they're too predictable? Do you feel like they're Charmin soft out there?
Yeah, a little bit, man. But I do like the running back, man. He definitely. I got him in a couple of my leagues, in my fantasy leagues. I do like the running back, man. But Tyreek Hill, he's getting a little old, and Waddle, I don't know what's going on with him. So. Yeah, and the line is tough, man. It's tough. But the good thing, they got the spark with Kane. So.
Yeah, I love A-Chain. Like, to be honest, I feel like they need to be less pass heavy and rely more on the run game. Now I know that they didn't have Raheem Mostert in this game; he was injured, but they got a really nice running back out of Tennessee that's pretty physical as well. He looked pretty good in the preseason. Like. Why do you think Miami struggles to beat the Buffalo Bills?
I would say definitely the passing game, and then obviously, Tua got hurt, but even before that, man, it was just the line was the defensive line was too much for them, and they couldn't hold up, man. It was over kind of early, so I mean, yeah.
Now, how do you feel about both of these teams after this game? Like, are you still viewing the Dolphins as a playoff team like how most people do? Because before this season, I had them going 7-10. I got a lot of hate for it, but do you kind of agree with me, or are you kind of still like, man, it's still a lot of ball to be played?
It is a lot of ball to be played. I will say that, but I don't know. Them losing their quarterback, they might as well bring back. I'm a Titans fan, so I know Tannehill. He's decent, but the Titans never had an offensive line for him. So, and the Dolphins won't either, clearly. But yeah, I don't know. The Bills, I do like the Bills. Obviously, almost like Lamar Jackson, how effective he is just by himself, the type of playmaker he is. It's the same thing with Josh Allen. He can just kind of create stuff for himself. But, I'm kind of disappointed with Keon Coleman. But, it's only the second game. And, I actually went to the Combine, and I was sitting up there, and I saw Keon Coleman. He was running the drill where you have to go sideline to sideline. And he was just wild, man. He was wild. And there was a couple other drills that caught my eye that kind of, deflected me. But I will say Ladd McConkey looked really good in that drill. But besides that, it's only the second game. He still got time. I picture him as an Odell type, going down the field. Eventually, Josh Allen will start to target him. But besides that, I think the Bills will still definitely make a huge run in the playoffs even. You can't stop Josh Allen.
Yeah, and what has me so high on Buffalo this year is that it's not no more Josh Allen go win us the game, because we've seen in the past when they've relied on Josh Allen a lot, he's come through for them, but at the same time, he's hurt them with their turnovers. Now, with you being able to play complementary football, you can run the game, you can run the football effectively now. It takes the ball out of Josh Allen's hands a bit more, to the point where I feel like Josh Allen doesn't have a lot of turnovers when he doesn't have to throw the football a lot. But when you're asking him to throw the football 30 plus, 40 times a game, you're at least going to see him throw at least 2 interceptions, which is costly when you get into the different animal that is playoff time. Because the difference between Josh Allen and Mahomes is that Mahomes shows up the last 15 minutes of the game, and you know that he's going to play mistake-free football. That's when you get the best out of him. However, for Josh Allen, though, it's like he'll have a couple of passes that he'll miss, a couple of errant throws, maybe a costly turnover that will seal the loss for them. So I just love what I saw of the Buffalo's offense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Josh Allen's definitely more of a gunslinger. Like he's gonna let you have it with it. You better catch it or be right there. It's gonna get. I don't know, man, but yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you taking my call, though, JT, man. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. It's always good to talk football.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you for calling in.
For sure, man. I'll be locked in.
For sure, my brother. Take care.
All right, peace.
Shout out to our guy Buckeye DK for calling in. Shout out to our guy Caleb Pavone. He says, "Yo, what's going on, my guy?" My guy Anthony Mazzano says, JT, this is what happens when you have an owner that just does everything halfway. He only fires the GM and not the coach, or keeps the GM, fires the coach. Absolutely, I agree. And Mike McDaniel is a really good coach to me. I really just believe that he's just kind of handicapped with Tua being his starting quarterback, because you got to run the system that's built around his strength. If you had a quarterback that was better at throwing the football downfield with a stronger arm, I feel like his offense would be more effective.
Call from Kate Roan to accept.
Yo, what's going on, Kate?
Hey, what's going on, JT? Thanks so much for taking the call.
I appreciate you for calling in.
Yeah, I always love your content, and I'm so glad I caught the live stream after this game, because that is not what I thought I was going to be watching at all. I I really thought that they would look really competitive, and it's kind of like the same old, but a little bit worse. But Josh Allen, like his hand, that worried me a little bit at the beginning. And he also, I want to root for Buffalo all the time because he'll look so great, like you were just saying, like he'll make some amazing passes and do some superhuman things. But then because he's a gunslinger, he'll also turn over the ball sometimes. But every time they go to the playoffs, they just seem like they're a deer in headlights. So I want to really believe they're going to be much better this year because I'd love for them to get a Super Bowl. But I'm worried that they're just kind of the same old Buffalo. And I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
To me, at least right now, I know it's early into the season. Buffalo looks like a different team than what we've seen in the past offensively. Because in previous years, it's just been, okay, Josh Allen, go do your thing back there. And they haven't really had a dependable run game. Now, last season, James Cook did come on, but it was still a Josh Allen-centric offense. Now, year 2 under offensive coordinator Joe Brady, you see an offense that now is able to be balanced. They can play complementary football now. You saw them win the night without having to ask Josh Allen to win them the game because of how dominant they were on the ground and how good their defense played. And if they can sustain this level of balance offensively throughout this season and they can carry that into the postseason, I love their chances of being able to make a deep playoff run because you don't necessarily have to have a dynamic offense to win it all. You don't need to have elite receivers to do it neither. All you got to be able to do is to be balanced. You got to be able to win some games with your defense stepping up like what we saw Buffalo do tonight. And you also have to be able to not have to overly rely on your quarterback to win because with a guy like Josh Allen, he can be extremely volatile. And with you being able to run the football, you take the ball out of his hands, and now you make him more efficient. Because when he has to throw the ball less than 30 times, more times than not, he plays mistake-free football. When he's throwing it 30 plus, 40, 50 times a game, that's when you end up seeing him have like 2-3 turnovers, and it costs Buffalo games. So if they can continue to be as dominant on the ground as what they were tonight against Miami, this defense continues to play the way that they did, I love their chances of being able to get over the hump this year if everything goes their way. But, you know, you still don't want to see Kansas City in the playoffs. It's just a nightmare to play them. It's like Patrick Mahomes is the equivalent to what Michael Jordan was during his prime years in the 90s for Chicago. The only time you were able to win the finals was when Michael Jordan was off playing golf or baseball or something like that. They'll come out of retirement and win 3 more rings. That's how dominant Patrick Mahomes is. But if Buffalo can run the football, win the time possession battle, keep Mahomes off the field, that's a good game plan for them being able to win that game potentially if they can pull it off.
Yeah, I would love to see him pull it off. I feel like they've got a little bit of they've never beat Kansas City in the playoffs, have they? So that's why they tend to look very deer in headlights. And Patrick Mahomes is amazing. His ability to pull off the win when they had terrible receivers last year, and just his improvisation, it drives me nuts that they're that good. But he's amazing. I think he'd probably exceed Brady at some point, which might be too early to say, but yeah, he's incredible. I did have one other question for you. I'd heard Bomani Jones talking, this was last season, about the Dolphins and how they built like a track team because a lot of the guys are just speed, like the Achane and the Tyreek Hill. And I think they're better than just being really fast. Like they're really good receivers and football players. But I was wondering if you knew anything about that or had any insight on that, building a track team and why it doesn't work out
The problem with Miami is that they're all speed and finesse. I don't know if you remember those Chip Kelly coached Oregon teams when they had DeAnthony Thomas and a bunch of speedsters, but that's what Mike McDaniel's offense looks like down in Miami. And it's weird because he comes from that Kyle Shanahan tree, so you think they will have a little bit more emphasis on being physical, but they're too soft. And that's why they can't go far late during the season, why they struggle when they have to go on the road and play a team like Green Bay in cold weather, or they got to travel to Arrowhead in the wild card round, because when you're a track team and your team is built off speed and being finesse, we want to beat you on the perimeter. Once you get into November, December, the last couple of months of the season, that's when your speed kind of gets neutralized, because now it becomes a game that you have to win with physicality. When you're playing in the snow, you just can't throw the football all over the field. You got to be able to run the football down the opposing defense's throat, and that's something that Miami hasn't been able to do because, for one, their offensive line is normally not that good. You saw their best offensive tackle, Teron Armstead, have to leave this game. They also lost an offensive guard to injury as well. And with this being a team that's built off speed and finesse, they don't have enough physicality to make deep playoff runs, especially late in the season in cold weather games. Now, if Miami was able to get the 1 seed in the AFC and you have to come to Miami to beat the Dolphins, then I feel they probably would have at least made it to a conference championship at that point, because the weather is a factor when it comes to the style of play that Miami has offensively. So with them having a track team, it may get them by during the regular season, although I don't think it's going to happen this year, just because they're just lacking the necessary pieces on the offensive line to have a good season. Because Buffalo, the reason why they're so dominant against this team is because they know how to beat them. It's either slow down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, ruin the rhythm, ruin the timing between Tua and these wide receivers, and plus you know that their offensive line isn't going to give him enough time to get big plays downfield, so a lot of their big plays are generated after the catch. So when it comes to them being a finesse team, they're not going to go too far, because football is still a game that's won and lost on the line of scrimmage, and the Miami Dolphins constantly lose that line of scrimmage battle, especially with how they played tonight against Buffalo.
Yeah. God, it was really ugly.
It was.
I couldn't believe that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the call. I always appreciate your breakdowns and explanation. I learned something every time. Thanks so much. I always appreciate you, JT.
I appreciate you for calling in and always supporting the channel. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks so much. Bye.
Yeah, man, when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, I believe their biggest problem for why they continue to come up short in the postseason is that they don't have the ability to play physical football. They're too finesse to me. And once you get into the second half of the NFL season, after Thanksgiving, is when the real NFL season begins, because that's when the contenders start to separate themselves from the pretenders. And something that you commonly see out of teams that are able to make deep playoff runs is that they can run the football.
Call from
Keith from Pays and Plays.
to accept, press.
Yo, what's going on? You're on the phone with JT Sports Live.
Yo, JT, what's up, my guy? What's going on, bro? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Won a little something off the Buffalo Bills, smacking Miami tonight. How you feeling about this game, boss?
Oh, man. You know, I had Miami -1 after Sunday night, and it hasn't been close since it was 7-7, right? So you know how that goes. Oh, so I have a lot of questions with – it's really coaching, like situation and like coaching. You know, you got the ball with like 3 and some change left in the second quarter, and it comes to a point where it felt like, you know, Buffalo was letting you move the ball down the field, and you guys were just trying to run the ball when you need to be throwing some little strikes, because they were right there to score a touchdown, and then they go all the way down towards like the 30 and hit a field goal. Like, come on, man. You're not using the timeouts. You had 3 full timeouts. It's not efficient, man. And listen, I hate, and I'm going to say this respectfully to a degree, I hate that the most too fragile MS had to have that play happen to him. I hate that it had to happen, bro. I'm sorry I had to say it like that.
Yeah, like when I saw him, like when I saw him, pull the ball down and start running, I was kind of like, oh God, I know something bad is about to happen, man. And I was hoping that it didn't happen. And then, when DeMar Hamlin tackled him, it's not like he hit stick the brother. I don't even think it was really like a big tackle. You feel me? It kind of
Not
looked like
really.
he just ran helmet first, tried to run him over, just fell into his arms. And, with just the way that, his neck kind of was positioned, the impact once he hit the ground, I kind of felt like effed him up and he had to leave. But it seems like Tua is just fragile from the neck up.
Very.
You feel me? If
Very.
you get like a big hit and that part of his body, he's out for the game. Now, do you
And the
think
crazy
that?
part, I didn't mean to cut you off, bro, but the crazy part is with Tua, like, you realize all the tough hits he took in Alabama. I mean, like, bro,
Yep.
he was taking hits in Alabama,
Got his
bro,
hip knocked
and
out his
still got
socket in
up.
one game.
Yep. So you got to think. I think that took a toll, and you know how it is with the SEC teams. They practice like it's an NFL practice, so it's gonna be fatigue from longevity. And I mean, it's unfortunate with Tua. And then the question you're gonna have to ask is, if he can't play next week, well, they play, Seattle at Seattle. You already know my situation with Seattle. So for all I know, this may be a great opportunity to take Seattle, depending on how they look against New England, of course. But you have to wonder, man. I mean,
Well, the good
and
thing
McDonald
is
knows how
that
to terrorize him.
the good thing is that this is a Thursday night game. So you get a little bit more time to recover and heal than what you typically get when you play on Sunday. When you play on Thursday, yeah, you got a short week, but after you play this game, it's kind of like somewhat of a mini bye because you get a few added days off. And Tua, if he can, go through this week and get out of concussion protocol with the added extra day, then he could possibly play against Seattle. But, I'm with you. Like, I like Seattle to win that game regardless if Tua plays or not, just because of the structure of this offense. Like, Mike
Absolutely.
McDonald was the Ravens defensive coordinator last year. And you remember what the Ravens did to Miami last year when they played, man? Like, didn't they drop like a 40 burger on them?
Yeah, they shut him out, dog. And the previous year they had him locked up into that second half crazy comeback. So I definitely know McDonald's gonna have that. And it's just the fact that you're traveling over to the Northwest. It's gonna be different. It definitely will be. So I got a question though.
What's good?
So this week I didn't do college football, bro. I think you may agree it's a lot of bad matchups and
Yeah,
scheduling.
there's a lot of bullshit in college football, bro. Like I can't even bet on it no more. Notre Dame's losing to a team from the MAC. Like I mean, Alabama was struggling against
Bro,
USF.
Notre Dame does that every year, man. And it's so crazy because, like, I talk like old head talk towards you because, I am older. So it was a year when I remember when they had Charlie Weiss and, I know you know about Brady Quinn. They go into the big house in Michigan. They beat us. Chad Henne, Mike Hart, they're all sophomores at that time. Same year, the next week they lose to Michigan State at home, Notre Dame. So it happens, bro. And Michigan State wasn't nowhere near like how they were with Kirk Cousins and all of them. And then they lose to Army and Navy, and that's the first time in history since World War II that they lost to both service academies. So that's how Notre Dame is, bro. I mean, we're not talking about Freeman being in the hot seat. I think the seat's getting warm. It's getting very warm. If we don't win and cover this 10-point spread against Purdue, an in-state rival, technically, there's problems.
Absolutely, and Purdue's one of those teams where they don't got the upset master no more. He's down there in Louisville. It's still like a lot of people kind of feel like Purdue could be a little decent this year, at least defensively. And anytime you're as inept offensively as what Notre Dame and FSU are, you just can't rely on your quarterback to throw the football effectively through the air. There's not a single game you can look on your schedule where you're playing like a Division I team and say, oh yeah, that's a guaranteed win, because like you got to be able to be effective throwing the football. It's a passing league, and Notre Dame's offensive line this year is down compared to the level that they've played at in years past. And it's just hard to win games when you just have an inept passing attack and you're just defensive centric.
Agree. It's kind of like I think obviously he learned that from Brian Kelly because we see what Brian Kelly can do. But I also feel like it reminds me of like when the earlier Harbaugh years in Michigan, all them transfers that was coming in,
Shea
they couldn't
Patterson.
figure it out. They had everything you can imagine. They had a great defense still, but the quarterback play was awful. What I think Notre Dame needs to do, well, I think what a lot of teams need to do actually what Harbaugh did, right? Remember when they had McCarthy and K. McNamara, you start one game, you start the second game. He figured it out, and he stuck with that quarterback all the way through, and it worked out. Obviously, K is still playing. He's still starting somewhere else, and we saw where JJ is at. I think most coaches who have that quarterback problem needs to handle that.
But you see the
And a lot of
problem.
teams don't do that.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the problem
Mhm.
with that is that we're in the NIL era now. You feel me? It's
Right.
easy to bench a guy
Mhm.
when you don't have money attached. Remember,
Exactly.
Notre Dame isn't really a NIL centric program. So like when they throw
Nope.
money at a guy, you know, if you're throwing 500, 600,000 at a Riley Leonard, you're going to think twice about benching him because let's say you got a donor who donated that amount to get this dude and you bench him. He's not going to be happy because, you know, his money just went in the garbage. And same thing with DJU.
Yeah.
So it kind of complicates it.
Yeah.
But it's like,
And that's what I would
feel
do
you.
when people – I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that one, bro. But what you're saying is very accurate because what people don't understand about these college point spreads, there's a reason why margin of win is an important thing in college football, right? If you blow this team out by over 2 touchdowns, right, it's style points. That's what they call it as far as what we remember, style
Mhm.
points. So that margin of win does matter in these spreads. But, yeah, to me, like I said, this week was very bad. I love NFL, if you don't mind me saying so. If you're cool with that, free game to anybody out there.
Absolutely. Like, man, go ahead, check our guy
Okay.
Pays and Plays podcast out there, man. Good brother, man. Good content, especially when it comes to gambling advice.
I appreciate you. All right, so quick ones. We already lost Miami, unfortunately. We know how that went. So I got the Rams. I know they're an underdog, and I know the offensive line has issues right now. However, I have problems with Kyler Murray now. For one, they're saying there's an ankle injury he may be having now, and I think it's from the same leg that he had an ACL tear in. And I have concerns when you pretty much hit us with the Ricky Waters, the old heads, remember, to who, to where, to what, by saying that it's not your job to throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. when he was wide open. That's really wild to sit out there and say that's not your job when you are the highest paid player on that team. Now I think there's locker room problems, and it's the reason why a lot of people have problems with Kyler Murray. It starts to make a lot of sense. Next one. This is a reach one, but I got the Oakland Raiders going plus 9.5 if you can get it. I think it dropped to 8.5. I'm not saying they beat Baltimore Ravens, but listen, with the 3 linemen, we saw how Chris Jones and that off defensive line for the Chiefs dominated.
Christian Wilkins,
Max
Crosby.
Bro, with the little twist, they did that against the Chargers, and Harbaugh adjusted to it. But, I mean,
yeah, the Ravens, you don't know about that, man. That right side of that old line looks really bad. But, you know,
Lamar's banged up.
Yeah. Oh, he's banged up. Yeah, he did sit out of a practice I saw. Yeah, and they don't even want to run Derrick Henry 30 plus. They don't even want to. I'm like, bro, what the hell is going on? So Lamar's about to be your RB1 and your QB1 too. Like,
and it's so crazy that I said that I thought entering this season, I got a lot of shit when I said I thought Derrick Henry would be washed. I hate to say it looked like it's starting to show. And lastly, quick last one. I got the Washington Commanders. I got at -1 to beat the Giants. Danny Pennies. At this point,
it's time.
I mean, listen, bro. He's gonna leave before Daboll because we've seen that whoever comes in after Danny Pennies, they ball out under Daboll. Jaden Daniels is a rookie. I know they say they want him to pass more, but running is his type of style. And I believe he can open up that field for this
How
team.
are they going to pass? Like, they got no receivers outside of Terry McLaurin, and I don't view him as a good number one. Like, he's just a great deep
See, they're
threat.
gonna go to Austin Eckler, bro, because you know how that's gonna go, and I hate that that's what they're gonna have to do.
I feel
But
like
the
if
one thing
anything,
I
they need
look
to run
at,
the ball more. That's when they had their most effectiveness on offense against Tampa Bay. Is
I
when they were
agree.
running it with Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is nice too. Like, they just need to go all
I
in
agree.
and do what the Ravens did Lamar's rookie season. Like, let's just run Jaden Daniels, make sure he knows how to slide. You feel me?
Absolutely. You know, you got Cliff Kingsbury there, and he is maybe not the best head coach, but he's a good offensive coordinator. So he should definitely come up with a good plan. I mean, listen, I'm not sleeping on this Giants D line, but I mean, the front, anything after the D line is just god awful, bro.
Yeah,
like
man.
they can't stop anybody, man. And like that's just really what it is. Danny Penny, I'm gonna keep saying it, not Danny Dimes, Danny Penny. He's bound to throw a pick six. It'll be something fluky happening. It is bound to happen with him.
Absolutely. But I appreciate you calling in, my guy.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me on, man. You guys have a good night and be safe out here, all right?
You too, man. Take care. That was our guy, Plays and Pays podcast. Make sure that you guys go ahead, check my guy out, man. Great content over there that he does. We're going to take a few more phone calls. I'll probably be on here for about another 20-30 minutes. So you guys can continue to call in. 904-834-5927 is the number to call in. And I'm interested, like, how many of y'all are, like, calling in from, like, watching on X? Just let me know when you call in, because I want to know where everybody's watching from or where everybody's calling in from, because it's like I do have to pay to go live on X, so I just want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth with that thing. So call in, numbers pinned on the screen, both platforms. Absolutely, man, absolutely. I know we had somebody who tried to call in like 10 minutes ago before my guy called in, so you probably can call back. Here we go.
Call from.
And Sparks from the Bird.
To accept, press.
Yo, my guy M Sparks, what's going on, my dude?
JT, finally, brother. Long time.
Yes, sir.
How you
yes,
doing?
sir. How we feeling? How you doing? I'm doing great tonight. How about you?
I'm doing all right, man. Hanging in there.
So, like,
Thanks for asking.
how you feeling, man? How you feeling about this Dolphins Buffalo Bills game?
Sleeper, man. It sucked. I expected the Dolphins to at least do better this year against the Bills, because in the past they haven't done too well. I thought this was a year for them to overcome the Bills.
Yeah, it's kind of like with the Miami Dolphins, man. Like, they're one of those teams where they look good on paper. Before the season starts, you look at all the talent they have, and you're like, bro, how can they not make it to the Super Bowl? This is a Super Bowl caliber team. But when the games get played, it's just their style of play doesn't translate to winning football come playoff time. Because once you get into the playoffs, not even just the playoffs, like, once you get into that week after Thanksgiving, that's when the NFL starts to ramp up, because that's the final push. Everybody's trying to cement their playoff seeding. And if you're not a lock to make it to the playoffs at that point, you're making that late push to get one of those final seeds, like that 6 or 7 seed, like you saw Pittsburgh do last year, and the Green Bay Packers got hot as well. And the teams that are able to make those late season playoff pushes, they're physical football teams. They don't always have great quarterback play, but in spite of Pittsburgh not having like a franchise QB since Big Ben retired, they can still make it to the playoffs because they're physical, they got great defense, and they can run the football, and they can win the line of scrimmage battle. That's why Miami comes up short when they get into these late season games on the road in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You can't run that style of offense when you're just running all over the field anymore, because you can't be pass heavy in those weather conditions. So it's just for Miami. I just don't see it with them this year. I think this is probably going to be the worst season that they've ever had under Mike McDaniel.
Exactly. I don't think one-dimensional teams have too much success. You know what I mean? You have to be able to pass the ball and run the ball in today's NFL.
How you feeling about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation, man? Because I know you was really confident. You were high on Russell Wilson coming into this year. I really believe the way this thing is going to shape out is like this second game for Justin Fields is the game that he has to solidify himself as a starter, because if he looked decent against Atlanta, but you know, you need to see more, and if he doesn't really impress and, you know, submit this job, I believe that they're probably going to end up throwing Russell Wilson out there, because him and Mike Tomlin do have a pretty good relationship. And I do believe that they want to run this offense through Russ. So for Justin Fields, he's been given the opportunity, but this week against Denver, he really has to run with it.
Right. I think that Tomlin prefers like older quarterbacks who can manage the game at this point, being that we are once bitten, twice shy by Kenny Pickett. So I think that the Fields needs to learn more about reading defenses and managing the game a little bit better before we can start them. I think that the smart move is going with Russ because of his experience and leadership. So I do hope that, and I do have hope for Justin in the future, but he has to show me a lot more as far as his maturity and his mental aptitude towards the game.
But this is my thing, though. Justin Fields had one of his more efficient performances of his career against Atlanta. He took care of the football, he managed the game, and he was a big factor for the Steelers on the ground. He had like 50-something rushing yards. You don't get that with Russell Wilson. And you get more big playability with Justin Fields in that quarterback because he has a stronger arm, and I think he's more aggressive than what Russell Wilson is. He's willing to take more chances. And it's just my only negative about Justin Fields is that we just got field goals. We didn't get the ball in the end zone, but you know, with Russell Wilson, I just feel like he kind of sets the offense back because you're limited. You're not going to get that elite production on the ground that you would get with Justin Fields. And, you know, with him being like 35, going on 36 years old, the athleticism is diminishing. He pretty much has to be a pocket passer. And we've seen some of these smaller quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, Bryce Young being undersized, struggle to see over their offensive lines. I really want to see Justin Fields submit himself, because I just feel like the Steelers' best shot of making it to the playoffs this year is with Justin Fields. Because think about this. Think about the games last year when Russell Wilson was on. Like, he was decent, but when Justin Fields is on, I mean, he's damn near unstoppable. I mean, he's throwing dots downfield. He can't be tackled on the ground. So it's just like the upside with Justin Fields, to me, seems more when it comes to being a potential playoff team this year versus Russell Wilson, where, yeah, he's a veteran. He's probably better reading defenses than Justin Fields, but it's just like, if Justin Fields is taking care of the football like he did against Atlanta, it's hard to bench him. Plus, if he continues to, you know, put points up on the board, I do think he'll get into the end zone. He'll bust off a couple of big runs against Denver. I'm pretty confident of that.
Yeah, but he needs to put more on the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and really, with Justin Fields, you know, like, also what hurt him was he wasn't dependable in the fourth quarter. Like in Chicago, he would just melt away games, not taking care of the football.
Yeah, he was the worst fourth quarter quarterback in the league last year. For the last year at Chicago, you know, so that concerns me. But I do think he has potential, you know. But for the current team that we have right now, I think we need more of a. I mean, I like his physical ability, his running ability is fantastic. But you know, your job as a quarterback is to be the leader, manage the team, and pass the ball. Now, running is secondary, but you know, it's a great attribute. But you can't. He's going to turn into another Lamar Jackson, and you see what happens with Lamar Jackson in playoffs when he faces tough defenses. He's not able to pass his way out of situations.
I mean, that's true to a certain extent, but I do feel like with Arthur Smith calling the plays, with how big of a factor Justin Fields was on the ground, I mean, you take away those 50 rushing yards, the Steelers' run stats don't really look all that impressive. They gave Najee a lot of carries. Jalen Warren was banked up going into that game. So if you
Yeah.
take Justin Fields and what he did on the ground, I think that's probably a different ball game. And it looks
Yes.
like they are game planning to implement Justin's athletic ability into this offense. So it's like if you
Right.
go to Russ, how different does this
Right.
offense look? Like the offense could be better, but in what capacity though? Because it also could be worse because you don't have that athleticism on the ground. And the Steelers want to be a run heavy team, so it's like you might as well put a run heavy quarterback back there. That's what Mike Tomlin has been emphasizing all this offseason. We want to pound the rock, and they did that against Atlanta.
Right. But I think that they need to, it's more of a. I mean, we have committed to the run, but that's when you run tough, when you face a tough defense, it's still going on the run. You're gonna have that pass. So I'm concerned about that part of it when it comes to Justin Fields.
How you feel about the wide receiver position, man? Because I didn't like what I was seeing out there out of Van Jefferson. George Pickens did the sting back there, but I don't know. We need to call somebody. We need to get some help. We tried to get Cortland Sutton. We tried to get Brandon Ayuk, but
Yeah. But that I'm glad that IU saga is over. I got tired of that really quick, and I wasn't willing to. I was hoping the Steelers wouldn't pay that much money to a player like that. It's ridiculous. But I think Devontae Adams might be a late available receiver as the Raiders get worse.
Man, if he gets traded, bro, you know where he's going. We all know where he's going.
So that's right. But I like that kid Wilson we have. We got to wait and see what he adds. And,
Roman Wilson.
I'm pretty basically we're a run heavy team. I'm pretty secure with the receivers we have right now. We just need if the receivers is no good without a good quarterback to get the ball to them. So that's basically where we're at with that one. I didn't see a lot of targets to those guys either. So I really can't say that they're disappointing at this point. But I think when Wilson comes back, it'll give us a little bit more variety in that area.
That's if we see Russell Wilson, man. Because look,
no, not Russ Wilson, the receiver.
Oh yeah. Listen, I really don't think Russ has anything left. But at the same time, it's like, I really believe this situation with him being injured kind of has showed a lot about how they feel about Justin Fields. Because normally when a guy is your guy at quarterback, your mindset is, even if he's not 100%, if he's 70, 80%, we're throwing him out there. And I do believe this is kind of their version of having a trial run. So let's say Justin Fields gets the Steelers another win, and it either goes one or two ways. 1A, the Steelers win the same way they did against the Atlanta Falcons. Justin Fields takes care of the football, and he has a similar stat line that he had against Atlanta. Or Exhibit B, he ends up dominating, and he has one of those games where he just goes off. If we get Exhibit A, he does what he did to get Atlanta. Do you put Russell Wilson in there? Although Justin Fields didn't light the world on fire, he got you at 2-0. Would you still put Russ in?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because I wasn't really that impressed with Fields against Atlanta because he didn't put any sixes up on the board. Number one, I'm not into a field goal too much. So I would like to see him produce more touchdowns. If he does that in this next game, that'd be great. But I still wouldn't start him. I think their best chances are with Russ at the moment. But that remains to be seen, man. You got your opinion, and I got mine. We'll find out.
What?
The season,
Before you go, I want to ask you this. Mm-hmm. What do you need to see out of Justin Fields against the Broncos to be satisfied with him as the quarterback for the rest of this year?
I'd have to see a hell of a lot of progress as far as him reading the defense and a little bit more management, team management.
So what if he does what he did against Denver last year? Because last year when he played Denver, that was the best game of his career. He just melted in the fourth quarter. What if he goes for over 100 yards on the ground, and he also has 3 passing touchdowns to go along with that?
Well, that'd be a positive thing for our future. But I would still, let him. I think him and Russ have a great relationship. I think Russ is more of a mentor for him. I think this is a good season for Fields to learn, and then next year, I think then we can have that discussion next year. But I don't think that
you
he's
just
gonna
want to
eat
see Russ.
No, I'm not a big. I really, to be honest with you, I didn't like Russ. I thought he was a douchebag, personality-wise. But as I got to know him a little more since he's here, I like him a little bit more. But I still think he's, it's a little awkward. But I do think that our chances are better. We need some leadership, in our veteran leadership at quarterback right now for the team. We have a Super Bowl defense, and we need offense to catch up. And once that happens, I think we'll be a dangerous team.
Absolutely, man. I love what I saw of that defense. That boy T.J. Watt was out there ranking them. Had Atlanta fans in shambles.
Yeah, they probably had nightmares about him. but yeah, man, I like to see our defense is good. I like to see the offense maintain drives more than anything to keep the defense off the field because we were exposed last year. The defense.
Bro, like if we could average at least like 22 points per game, we really could, go far this year. You feel me? Because it is going to be hard to score in our defense. If we can get to 22 a game, I like our chances to win like 10, 11 plus.
Exactly, man. I would like to see us at least average about 30 points. That is because when you get to the playoffs, at 20 points ain't going to cut it. You know what I mean? You got to.
But man, in Sparks, I appreciate you for calling in, my brother. I appreciate you for sticking with the channel. You've been subscribed for a while, man, and I appreciate your support, man.
I remember when you were in high school, man, I was checking you out here and there. You're doing a great job, man. You're very talented. I can't wait to see you on ESPN on prime time where you belong, and that'd be a great thing.
I appreciate that, my brother.
Got a lot of hope for you. And I like to support your channel, man, but I hate YouTube. But I got to find a way to support your channel. I'm going to send you my email, too. I'm going to send you some terrible talent, some Steelers stuff down there for your set, man, so you can represent,
Absolutely, man. You send me some stuff, I'll put it on that back wall that you see back there. Absolutely.
I'm going to lay you out, man. Our first home game, we're going to have a meeting with our fan club. I got a huge fan club here in Pittsburgh. And I would love to have you here for a game, bro. So if you can make it, just let me know. I'll send you my information. So if you ever come to the city, man, come on.
Absolutely, man. My email is in the description, so if you scroll all the way down, you'll see it.
Word, definitely. I'm gonna hit up. I know a couple of people on in the Steelers organization. I'm gonna hit them up to try to send you a care package. Maybe start sending you some love, man. But Russ might not send you nothing, but I know Steelers might.
I appreciate you for calling in, my God. Take care. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, man. Take care. You too.
That was my guy, M Sparks, man. He's been a long time supporter of the channel, man. Glad that he called in, and it's been. I think he called in on one of my previous call-in shows I did a few years ago. It was kind of crappy. It was kind of bootleg. We had to put the phone up to the mic and whatnot. But I appreciate him for calling in, and we got time for 2 more calls. So if you guys want to call in, we're going to take 2 more calls before we get up on out of here. The number's on the screen, 904-834-5927. And it just doesn't have to be about the Bills-Dolphins game because, once I get off here, I'm going to end up chopping up all these segments and all these phone calls, and they're going to be their own individual theme because I kind of want this channel to be kind of centered towards, people calling in, giving their takes and whatnot. I feel like that kind of would help the channel. So I appreciate my guy M Sparks for calling in. Shout out to Kate Roan. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Shout out to my guy Here We Go Show. What's going on, man? Make sure you guys check my brother out. Really good Steelers content that he posts. He says, keep in mind, Justin went off versus the Broncos last year. Absolutely, man. Yeah, I remember that game. I watched that game vividly, and I was really disappointed how he ended that thing. And look, I'm kind of still a little bit biased because Jordan Love went down, and guess who's my starting quarterback in fantasy? You guys won't believe it. I picked him up before the season started, too, because when he ended up getting the nod against Atlanta, I was like, let me go ahead and pick up Justin Fields because Justin Fields won my fantasy league 2 years ago. I also got my guy, famous Jameis, as my backup, too. Yeah, I got Justin Fields starting. I don't know if the camera will focus in. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I got Justin Fields starting at quarterback. My guy Jordan Love is banged up. He's going to be out for the next couple of weeks. But, man, I expect my dude Jameis Winston the ball a lot when he gets his opportunity. It looks like it's pretty over for Deshaun Watson. I'm going to make a episode about it later on today. But he has a lawsuit that's stemming from a different incident from the ones he had with the masseuses. And unlike these other cases, allegedly this lady is saying that she actually has some videotape footage. Her attorney wants to send it to the NFL and ESPN so he can get punished for this. And Deshaun never told anybody in the Browns organization about this case. So, you know, if everything ends up holding up from what I read earlier, the Browns could cut him and they could void all his guarantees, avoid his salary. Remember what happened to Antonio Brown when, you know, he got traded to the Raiders and then he just completely went rogue and he didn't get paid anything because he violated their personal conduct penalties. So that's what the Cleveland Browns are going to use to get out of this Deshaun Watson mess. And look, bro, I don't wish bad on anybody, but, you know, if everything is true and this video evidence that this lady has against Deshaun is bad as what she's making it out to be, then this dude deserves everything that he has coming to him. And I would love to see my dude Jameis Winston get another opportunity, because if Joe Flacco was balling out on that team last year, just imagine what famous Jameis is going to do. So if you want to call in, the number's on the screen, 904-834-5927. We got time for 2 more phone calls. Go ahead, call in. Want to hear more of you guys' thoughts. So just go ahead, call in. Doesn't have to just be about the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills game. It can just be about anything, college football, NFL. Just go ahead, call in. We got time for 2 more phone calls. But if nobody calls in within these next 2 minutes, then I'm going to just go ahead and call it a night. It is getting kind of late. Like, it's 1:07 a.m. We went live like 3 times tonight, and you know, the first 2 live streams didn't really go well. We had some technical difficulties. Shout out to my guy on Rolly TV. He says still active. My guy N Spark says Pittsburgh Steelers for life. Absolutely. Also remember that we're not just a YouTube channel. We are a podcast. You can listen to this episode in its entirety on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. You can send them questions on Instagram at JT_Sports_ and on X at JT_Sports_. So if anybody wants to call in, numbers on the screen. I'm going to give it 1 more minute before we end up just clocking out if nobody else has anything they want to get up on out of their chest. We will be going live, not tomorrow, but Saturday night, recapping all of the week 3? Yeah, all of the week 3 college football action. We'll be reacting to everything, all of the big major matchups, and I'll have the phone lines open if you guys want to call in and do what we're doing tonight. So we're going to give it 1 more minute. If anybody wants to call in, you guys can go ahead. 904-834-5927. My guy N Spark says, as a Steelers game, I would like to see Watson stay as a starter. Absolutely, man. Keep him as QB1 as long as possible. As long as possible. That dude is a blessing to any team that he's going up against. Trust me. All right, well, it looks like nobody else has anything else that they want to say about the game or anything else, so we're going to go ahead and call it a night. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to Kate Rowan. Shout out to M Spark. Shout out to Here We Go Show. Shout out to Unruly TV. Shout out to everybody that tuned in for this episode tonight. And I will see you guys with another episode Saturday night, recapping all of the Week 3 college football action. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on post notifications. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of JT Sports Live. Have a good rest of